good mornings. It'll be the earliest it would be in Canada right now, I guess, is 12:30, and no, I guess 3 hours. So it could be noon over in BC, and on the East Coast it could be as late as 5:30. So good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to an Opimian tasting again, and thank you for joining us on such a beautiful day. I know it's you might want to be outside, but being in front of your computer is not a bad thing either, because we get to talk about champagne today. So you'll see I got a bit dressed up. I think I'd like to celebrate the fact that we're talking about champagne today with Carole Doyard. I was fortunate enough to meet Carole. I guess it was 18 months ago or so. She came near Christmas a couple of years ago, and we did the largest individual event that Opimian has had in recent years. We had 99 people come out to the Jazz Bistro in Toronto, and we did jazz and champagne for the night. And then we both went off to Calgary and did an event out there. And Carole took me to dinner in the Calgary Tower. Thank you, Carole. That was fun. We had a great time. So
It was amazing.
and I'd hoped to have some of Carole's wine left for today, but all I've got is this empty bottle of EB, and we've had that discussion. I've had a couple of people ask about it, and it doesn't look like we have it this time, but in fact we do. It's now the DM, and it's the there you are. Yes, Carole's going to hold it up, and that's 2372 is the one that I have in my hand as well from last year. So if you have this one and you want it again, it's going to be the one that Carole's showing you. So I think that's enough. Other than I did want to say that I'm definitely ordering the 2371. That's the Magnum, and I'm going to put it aside, and then as soon as we can have people over, it's going to be the first one to come out. And it's such an impressive thing to do a Magnum of champagne, and you get dressed up. We actually had a Downton Abbey evening at my house before COVID, and everybody got dressed up in tails and long dresses, and we just had a wonderful evening. So I'll stop talking because you don't want to listen to me. You want to listen to Carole Doyard. So thank you so much for joining us, Carole. Thank you, Anaïs, for running the show for us today. Much appreciated. And over to you. Oh, and let's talk a little bit about, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat, and Anaïs and I will keep an eye out for that. Carole, you don't have to worry about that. I'll ask you verbally when we have a question. And Carole's English is excellent, and she much prefers talking to Anaïs in French, but I'm not going to let her today. She's going to speak to you in English. And over to you, Carole. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Michael, and I'm very happy to be with you, with the whole Canada today, because for me it's tonight, it's 8 p.m. and it's Saturday evening, so having a great evening for me, because also in France we are completely staying at home all the time. So that's great, and I really appreciate to be invited with the whole Opimian member. I had a great trip last year. So for me, Canada, it's only wonderful memories, wonderful tasting, and I really appreciate that tonight, today, you are with me to share a little bit of my passion, my part, because with Opimian, it's a great experience since 5 years now, because I start working with Opimian in 2017. So it's the 5th year now that you trust in my champagne. You see the small evolution about the different vintage, and also with the Cuvée non-vintage, like the Empreinte and the Cuvée Désir, because these two non-vintage, you will find all the time the freshness and the particularity of the Cuvée Désir, which is an extra brut. Right now, I'm going to open the bottle because it's time, I think. And all the time when you open a bottle, you will see the first thing is all you need is champagne. All you need is champagne. And the
I
second thing
agree.
is my great grandfather, Maurice Doyard, who is the co-founder of the SAIVC. So it is also behind me. You see, I am in my reception room. Maurice is a very well-known name, and it's very important also for me to enter in the reception room and to have these eyes who look at me, and I'm sure he's proud of also what I'm doing as a woman in this wonderful family domain. So maybe you still have some champagne, or maybe no, but I'm happy to start with the Cuvée Empreinte. So
Wonderful.
when you open a bottle of champagne, all the time take care about the pressure in the bottle and enjoy.
And that's something you taught me, Carole, is to leave the cage on as you take it off, so that because it's dangerous as you remove the cage if you do that.
Exactly. Yes. I didn't remember the name of this, so I did not talk about it. The cage, you call it the cage.
Oui.
The cage, because if you took out, is like that.
Yeah, if you remove, yes.
It can go very fast, so be careful.
Yeah, watch your eyes.
Santé.
Yeah.
So if some people they want to know a little bit more about me, I am Carole Doyard. So I am the fourth generation. It's my great grandfather who created the house Doyard, and I am based in the Champagne area. The Champagne area is 3 different cépages. The Pinot Noir, it's more up around Reims. You have the Pinot Meunier around la Vallée de la Marne, and in the south of Épernay, you have mostly Chardonnay. And Vertus is the latest village in the south at 20 kilometers from Épernay. In this region, I'm working at 90% the Chardonnay. The Chardonnay, it's a cépage who bring floral, minerality, and very light and pleasure champagne. I have 10% of Pinot Noir, and with this Pinot Noir, I'm making the red wine, the Coteau Champenois, and with this Coteau Champenois, I'm going to blend it to have the rosé. So only one champagne with 2 different cépages, but all the other champagne are only Chardonnay. So the house has been created by my great-grandfather, Maurice Doyard. And this family domain, the house where I'm living now, I am the 3rd generation who has been living here. First of all, it was my grandfather, Jean Doyard. And in 1950, he bought the small Moulin d'Argensol. It's a very pleasure place to live and also to work. Because in 1988, my parents, they moved in the domain and now they are in retire. So I'm taking care about the domain since 5 years. I learned everything from my father, and I also returned at school in 2005 because I've been traveling a little bit in my first life and came back in the house and returned at school, learn everything about the pruning, about the vinification. And right now I'm doing the whole vinification in stainless inox tanks. I'm taking care about the vineyards, and I'm taking care about the export in the different country when I was moving. Now it's a wonderful tasting with the webinar, but we have also a nice team. I have also a nice team with me. It's a woman team. Sorry. I'm working with my cousin Juliette and her mother Odile. So that's all this team who are working with me in the administration and the reception of the clients. Vertu, it's a village where there is the Chardonnay, and it's very chalky area. In Champagne, we have different terroirs. You have the clay in the north, and Le Marne, which is a very strong calcaire. In Vertu and in La Côte des Blancs, it's chalky, very friable, not strong, very. I don't know the word in English, but
perhaps loose. Are you saying it's loose? It's not. It's not dense.
Exactly. Yes. So that means this chalk can keep the water because we had a lot of water during the winter times, and when it's summer, a dry summer, we have all this freshness who's coming back for the vineyards. So it's the reason why it's very very mineral, very light champagne, because it's not clay. If you have some Chardonnay from the north, it's more round, full body champagne because the soil is also different. So I can speak also about crumbly. Thank you. Every year is the same problem for me, the crumbly name. So Maurice Doyard, you will see this great grandfather because he's the co-founder of the CIVC. The CIVC is the big office who protect the whole law. Sorry? So the CIVC is the big office to protect the whole law, and it's a very well-named, well-known, something like that. Yeah. Name in Champagne. And my Champagne is DM for Doyard-Mahé. Mahé is my mother's name because she is coming from La Montagne de Reims, and her father was also making champagne with the Pinot Noir. So Doyard-Mahé, Doyard from my father and Mahé from my mother. Me, I am Carole Doyard, and I vinificate only the Chardonnay from my father's family in Vertu. About my vinification, I'm working with stainless inox tanks to keep this freshness. For me, Champagne, like the Cuvée Empreinte, it's the everyday champagne, very light champagne, very floral champagne. And I think it's my easy drinkable champagne. The Cuvée Désir, the Cuvée Extra Brut Désir, with a little bit less dosage, but more older in the cellar. I wanted to show you my cellar because I'm working in Pupitre for my whole Magnum, but I do not have the Wi-Fi in the cellar. So
next year
you can see it in the picture. Sorry, very sorry. And also about the way that I'm working in the vineyards. With this new generation, I am HVE and VDC. HVE is the Haute Valeur Environnementale, and VDC is the Viticulture Durable en Champagne. It's two big certification that I have since 1 year, but I'm working like that since 30 years. My father started to do it, but now I am officially, so I'm very happy to have these two certifications because it's the proof that I'm working with the protection of the environment. There is no pesticide, no herbicide in my vineyard. I'm working the soil, and I'm doing some experiments with some copper. So copper with some cereal to protect the vineyards of the frost, and to put it down after to bring matter organic in the soil. It's the new way to work, and that's my 3rd year that I'm working like that in some parcel to do some experiment, because I think the soil is very important to have nice grapes, and with this nice grape, I'm going to make great champagne. It's more work, more because I cannot enter during few months in these vineyards because the copper grew up. But I did my pruning at the beginning, so I do not enter before May in these sort of vineyards. So if you have some question about it, do not hesitate. It's my passion.
Well, and
So,
we'd love to hear about the tastings on. I love the fact that you've said that the one is easy drinking comparative to the other, and maybe if we do tasting notes on that when you're tasting the wines as well, Carole.
so you want me to? Sorry, I did not hear very well.
No, that's fine. I was just saying that if there are no questions, if you are going to open those wines, I think it is important to talk about why they would buy one over the other.
Okay.
Yes.
So I spoke a little bit about the Cuvée Empreinte, which is very fresh, very light, very easy drinkable. It's a champagne who has 2 years on my cellar, and it's a brut. It's 10 gram dosage. So it's very nice.
And I think we should explain that, Carole, about the 10 grams of dosage, so that's a sugar that's added to do the secondary fermentation. Some people may not know that. Would you like to explain the tank method compared to the champagne method, or would you like me to do that?
Charmat method.
Yes.
I cannot speak very well about that because I don't know it very well. I can speak about my champagne and the method.
Yes, and what happens when you do the dosage? I think if you could go through that, that would be excellent.
Okay. So I'm doing first of all the fermentation during the harvest. So we have juice, grape juice, and after the first fermentation, because there is the yeast that I add, the yeast are eating the sugar from the grapes, and it's making a wine at 11 degrees of alcohol. It's a still wine because the whole gas go away from the inox stainless tank. After, I do my blend with the wine from the year with my reserve wine. It's approximately 60-55% of the year with some reserve wine to keep the signature of the house. It's for the Cuvée Empreinte. For the Cuvée Désir, it's not the same blend because with the Cuvée Désir, I'm working with some special parcel, which are old parcel with some reserve wine and more older reserve wine because the second one is an extra brut. So after, when I did my blend, I do my tirage. It's the embottling. So it's a still wine. I did my embottling. It was the 15th of February this year. So it's a still wine, and I add 24 grams of sugar by liter and yeast. The yeast is going to eat the sugar again to make the second fermentation. It's calling the traditional method because there is 2 fermentation, one in stainless inox tank, one in the bottle. And right now, in my cellar down, there is la prise de mousse. So la prise de mousse, right now, it can happen few bottles with the prise de mousse who explodes during this moment. So there is a few bottles who explode in this moment because they had a small problem with this bottle, but they explode at this moment. After, they do not explode anymore. And when the yeast, after 1.5 months, they have been finishing their work, I have 7 kilos of pressure in the bottle. And they're making a deposit in the bottle. So my bottle are horizontal like that. The yeast are in the bottle and making the deposit. And more I let the yeast the deposit in the bottle, more I have aromas in my champagne. So for the Cuvée Empreinte, it's 2 years on the deposit. It's very fresh, very light. For the Cuvée Désir, it's 3 years. So this year, one more, is going to bring more aromas, more soft notes and some complex notes rather than the Cuvée Empreinte. It's the reason why I do an extra brut. So this, after 2 years or 3 years, I'm putting the bottle to let the deposit going in the top, we call it like that, in the top
neck,
of the bottle, because I'm doing the removaling, so the deposit is on the top of the bottom, and I'm going to do the disgorging. Disgorging, I put all of my bottle in some liquid. It's making a frost. So with this frost, I have an ice cube. We call it like that. If I do,
it freezes it. Yes, freezes the neck. Yeah.
Okay, it's making a small ice cube, and the deposit is in the ice cube. So we can open the bottle with the 7 kilo of pressure from the bottle. The ice cube
flies away.
Flies away. Oh,
flies away.
Flies away. And I'm going to add this dosage. This dosage, it's a liqueur, it's a sugar. For extra brut, it's between 0 and 6 grams of sugar by liter. My Cuvée Désir, it's 4 grams. The Cuvée Empreinte, it's 10 grams. The Rosé, the same dosage, 10 grams. And the Vintage 2014 is 4 grams. This dosage that I add, it's not to make a sweet champagne. It's just to have the well balance from the nose and the palate to be a very pleasant champagne. Some people, they say, why you don't do 0 gram of dosage? I am in the Chardonnay area. I am in the chalky area. I have a lot of acidity in my grapes and in my champagne. It's the reason why these small dosage bring the well balance. If I do 0 dosage, I have only bitter note. I try. Every time I have a new vintage, I try, but it's not for my champagne. I need this well balance. So it's what it brings the dosage in the champagne.
Right. And David is asking if you add wines from previous years, and you do in your non-vintage wines, correct? So your vintage champagne is all from the same year?
Exactly.
But non-vintage champagne, you do blend wines from different vintages.
Right? Exactly. He's right. So in champagne, after I also have my rosé. So it's a very pink color rosé because I'm working with my very old parcel who make my Coteau Champenois, my Pinot Noir, which is very dark Coteau Champenois. So I add between 12 and 13% of Pinot Noir in the Cuvée Empreinte to have my rosé. So it's the same blend of the Chardonnay from Empreinte and the rosé. And it's 10 gram dosage. It's very red fruit nose, very strawberry note in the nose, and in the mouth, you have this 88% of Chardonnay who bring this minerality, this light champagne. This champagne, it's a summer champagne. It's a dessert champagne without sugar because it's not sweet. Even if it's very pink, it's not sweet.
No. I became a grandpa 2 weeks ago, and we celebrated with a bottle of your rosé. Yes, so and just absolutely enjoyed it so much. And it is not too sweet. It's a nice. We've got it rated as a semi-dry.
Call it semi-dry. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to present my favorite champagne, the Cuvee Vintage 2014. When I have a vintage, when I decide to make a vintage, it's because it was a nice year. I had a nice, well balance during the harvest between the sugar and the acidity. And I have also a healthy year for the grapes. And 2014 was a very special year because we had lots of water during the winter times. Autumn, winter times was not very cold, and spring times, again, lot of water. And it has been stormy and water July and August. And September, great things happen because we had a lot of sun, very hot and very dry. But because it has been with a lot of water, I had a very high acidity in 2014. And I remember a year like that, it was 2010, I decided to make an extra brut because if I add more sugar, I lose the whole aromas from the champagne, but I feel only the sugar. So these 4 grams in this champagne just bring iodine note, salty note, and it's very elegant. It's not complex and round because this champagne stay 6 years in my cellar. But because it's a vintage, so it's not with some reserve wine, it's gonna get older very, very slowly than a blend non-vintage. So
and Jane has a drinking window of 21 to 2026. Do you feel it'll be good 5 years from now in the cellar?
Sorry.
So the 2014 that you're holding now, Jane says to drink between 2021 and 2026.
Exactly.
And it would probably last longer in the cellar too, rather than just 5 years. How long would you cellar this one?
How do I keep? I will keep it.
Attends,
I drink
je
it.
peux faire une petite traduction rapide. Quel sera le meilleur moment pour le déguster? Parce que Jane a dit que ce sera entre 2021 et 2026. Mais est-ce que tu penses qu'on peut le garder plus longtemps?
Le mois prochain, il faut le boire.
Next month, okay.
Right. So.
No, I think the champagne stays 6 years in the cellar. It's wonderful to keep some bottle of champagne because it's a special year, because it's a wedding year, because it's a birthday year. But I think I keep it 6 years. It's great now.
Right.
It's ready to be drinking now. If you have a great cellar, because you see my vintage are in transparent clear bottle. So you need to be careful because it doesn't like the light. So if you have a nice cellar and you can keep it, it's wonderful. I really love to visit you because I do not keep bottles in my vinothèque. I keep Magnum in my vinothèque. But I'm all the time very well surprising to taste some old vintage. And last week I was in my sister's home and she had 2008. I do not have anymore 2008 at home.
Wow.
And I was so happy to taste it because it's better and better.
And it gets very golden, right? As it gets older, it starts to get gold and honey colored like that. Yes.
Yes, but to have honey color with the Chardonnay, you need to keep it 10 years because I am with the Chardonnay, but it starts to have some gold and very brilliant color after 6 years, 7 years.
And you deliberately choose to put it in a clear bottle because it's Blanc de Blanc, because it's only Chard?
Yes, and it's also to show, because you have been speaking about this color who change. We call it la robe, and it's true because when it's young champagne, it's a green pale color with the Chardonnay, and when it gets older and older, it's more gold color, and it can be miel, honey color when it's very, very old. And because I am a woman, and what I see, I expect something in the mouth. And if I see a transparent, clear bottle and it's a gold color, and if I see Blanc de Blanc, because in my label you have all the information on it, you see Blanc de Blanc with gold color, you expect a structure in the mouth. So if you want to have this structure, you need to keep it longer time.
Right. Excellent. Thank you, Carole.
My battery, I don't okay. Yeah, you start to be dark. Sorry, I'm not very good for the computer.
Pas un problème.
And you want me, and I would like to speak about something special.
Yes, absolutely. I'll let you say so. You say it better than I do.
Oh, it's my ratafia.
Right.
It's the first year that I present, and I present my ratafia, and I'm very happy because it has been selected by Jane. It's an honor for me because I get a silver medal a few years ago in a concours de Bruxelles from my ratafia, and it has been selected in the Guide Hachette 2 years ago for the ratafia. The ratafia, it's not champagne. Ratafia, it's a special liqueur. Liqueur, it's at 18 degrees of alcohol. It's still and it's sweet because the ratafia, it's making with a small maceration of my Pinot Noir. I'm going to take a glass of ratafia. Like that, I will show you.
Okay.
And the ratafia, you have it in the fridge, you close it with a cork, and you can keep it months. It will not lose bubbles because there is no bubbles. It's like a cherry or a port. It's nice. So you see the color of the ratafia? It's
Right.
very dark because it's coming from the Pinot Noir. So I do my press. And if I let, like making champagne, the yeast is going to eat the sugar, but I don't want the yeast eat the sugar. So when I have this small maceration during 1.5 day, 2 days, I stop everything with an alcohol at 70 degrees, which is coming from my fin de champagne. The fin de champagne is an alcohol at 70 degrees. It's coming from the latest juice that I bring to the distillation, we say, like that.
To the distillery, yeah.
And I bring my wine at 11 degrees of alcohol. I bring to the distillation, and they give me back the fin de champagne at 70 degrees of alcohol. And the fin de champagne, I use it to make my ratafia. So it's approximately 1/3 of alcohol and 2/3 of must, because it's a must, it's a juice, because there is the whole sugar in this must. After that, during 1 year, it's staying in stainless inox tank. After I put it in a Solera, so since 2005, I have a big inox tank, which is a blend of different ratafia. And after that, I put it in the barrel for 1 more year. So the ratafia, it's a very complex work because there is different parts, and the barrel brings some nuts note or les notes de pruneau. Pruneau, pruneau. I all the time forgot the name of the pruneau.
Plum. C'est pas plum.
Thank you.
Glad you're here, Anaïs.
It's a very, very also some note of cherry. The ratafia, it's wonderful as appetizer. It's great with some cheese, some strong cheese, or with a dessert with chocolate, or very sweet dessert, because you have some sweetness in the ratafia. So the ratafia, usually the first time you say, okay, it's 18 degrees of alcohol. I have 1, 2 glass. We are 2. Okay, 2 and 2, it's 4 glass. But the second time you open the bottle, you finish the bottle because it's very pleasant, and it's the ratafia. It was the appetizer of my grandparents 30 years ago, and now the ratafia is not only the appetizer, because the ratafia is taking the place of the port with the cheese, with le comté, with the roquefort, with some strong cheese. And also you can have some ratafia with, for example, le foie gras. Because if you don't have some Ikem at home of some sauterne, you can have the ratafia.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. And Paul is asking if it's best served at room temperature or colder.
Yeah. Yes. You keep it at the fridge.
Yes.
It's because just to compare with the port, in the ratafia you have a little bit more acidity because of the grapes. We have a high acidity, so it doesn't feel very sweet.
Right. Right.
So you do not have this heavy mouth after the ratafia.
And is it literally in a Solera very similar to sherry, that you do the blending through the Solera method?
Sherry, I don't know how they do it. Solera is a special method because you blend every year. And ratafia is very rare because you need to have a special signature from the custom to make ratafia. Ratafia is very rare also because it's more work during the harvest. So you have to taking care about the fermentation, you have to taking care about the red wine, this fermentation, and you have to take care about the ratafia. So it's the reason why not a lot of people are making ratafia. My father was making it, and I continue to do it because I drink it.
And Marie Soleil is asking what you would pair it with for an appetizer, and you've mentioned a foie gras, an autre appetizer pairing for the ratafia.
The ratafia, you can have the ratafia as an appetizer with some spicy like the tacos or like the spicy sauces. You can have the ratafia. The ratafia will not go very well with some sushi because it's better to have an extra brut with the sushi, or with some scallops you will have better vintage with the scallops if you have it, or carpaccio or cooked. Thai food can go very well with but the Thai food, I love the Thai food, but I will say it's depending on the degrees of the spicy, because Thai food is also with a lot of comment ça s'appelle, le persil, coriandre. Yeah. And the coriandre go very well with the vintage or with the extra brut Cuvée Désir, because you have nice complexity.
Right, better to go that way. And in the picture we have with the ratafia, there's some blue cheese there that would be lovely. With that, my mouth's watering already. I'll be getting a case of that too. You're bankrupting me.
Oh. And And I have a friend who is making some port, and all the time he say, I don't like Carole when you are close to me, because people, they really love the ratafia because it's not sweet as the port. It's very pleasant because we have this acidity who is coming back in the mouth, and even if you have this cherry note and plum note, you have not heavy mouth.
Right.
Okay, after one bottle, maybe, huh?
Yeah. After two, maybe. All right. So if we were to run through these, oh, here's you're reading that too, Carole, in the chat?
And yes, I have to click on it maybe.
No, and you know what? I can answer this one, Carole. So to iPad, that the fact is that Carole's wines are selling so well this year that we went back to Carole and asked for a larger reserve. So that's why you'll notice those numbers changing on the website. Is that we needed more wine and Carole was good enough to give us more. So that's why you notice the changes. Does that answer your question, iPad? Yes. And so Carole, could you just very briefly go through the five wines that the Empreinte again is the kind of entry level where it's everyday drinking, nice and light.
Yes.
And then you've got the Extra Brut Désir, which has a little more complexity, a little more celebratory perhaps.
Yeah, or it's the Cuvée Désir. So I just respond to Paul Barnes, who asked me for how long time when it's open I can keep it in the fridge. When the ratafia is open, you can keep it 6 months in the fridge, but usually after 2 weeks it's finished. Yeah. But you can keep it. You can keep it and forget it. No problem.
But and who would leave it for more than 2 weeks anyway, Carole?
Sometimes when you are not very well organized, you can forget.
Right.
And you have some American fridge. So right. I will say that the Extra Brut, it's also very, very pleasant during the summertime because it's with the weather. You want, when it's hot, you want a champagne who désaltère with less sugar, and the Extra Brut find its place also at this moment. If you have some crustacea plate, if you have some oyster plate, it finds its place, the Cuvée Désir, because less sugar, a little bit drier, but with a nice complexity.
Great. And then the rosé, I think you said 10 grams of residual sugar. Right?
Yeah, but you know, even if we can think, okay, 10 grams, it's a lot, but because it's 2 years on the yeast, this Empreinte and rosé is bringing the smoothie aromas, very creamy aromas. So it's the reason why I call it my pleasure champagne, because they are. You don't say, okay, I need to have oyster, or maybe you need to have a crustacea or something. You can have nothing or everything. It just go very well. Also with some lamb with some fish, cooked fish. The rosé can go very well. Only with if you have some strong meat, red meat, like sanglier ou chevreuil. Anaïs, she's laughing because she's trying to translate it.
Oui, ils mangent pas beaucoup de sanglier, je pense. Ici.
Ouais, bah, c'est très bien. Le gibier, ça va pas.
No, and you know, it's often said, and I actually agree with it, that champagne pairs with everything. That there isn't a bad pairing for champagne. Perhaps, like you said, very, very hot Thai might not be quite right, but for sure. So, and then moving on, then we're at the vintage 2014 champagne, La Crème de la Crème, n'est-ce pas?
Ah, oui.
Ouais, yeah.
Oui. For the moment, the exception moment, for nice moment, but also nice moment. It's not because it's only exceptional. It's making the exception with this nice champagne.
Right. And then the ratafia that we just spoke about for dessert. And your entire champagne life is looked after by Carole Doyard.
Yes, exactly. I'm not very objective because they are my babies. All of my champagne are my babies, and I have 3 children. So I know I love them for different character and for different moments. And my champagne are like that. I make champagne that I am. You know me, and we travel a little bit. I like great moment. I like the life. I like party. I like eating, so I'm running because I'm eating a lot. But it's the life. It's the life, and we need this nice moment with freshness, with no complexity all the time, and just open and enjoy.
And I deliberately dressed up at the beginning, and now I'm dressed casually because champagne isn't just for big celebrations, it's for everyday drinking, and that's why we offer the full range. And as I said at the beginning, I'm planning to buy several of the 1500 milliliter, the magnums of the Empreinte, so that I can celebrate with my friends when we're able to all get together. Before we started, everybody, I had said to Carole, as soon as I've got 8 or 10 friends around, she said, you only need 4. So it'll even a small that we're allowed 5 people indoors here at in Ontario. So perhaps I can open that as soon as it arrives.
Oh,
So
great.
that's excellent. If anybody has any other questions, please put them in the chat. And Carole, any closing remarks for you? I think we've covered it very well. Thank you so very much. It's as I said earlier, it's such a delight to see you again. It's been too long.
Oh, yes, I will come back because Canada, it's my great trip, the old town, and with wonderful people who enjoy the champagne, and it's not easy, I know, but just sharing my passion, it's wonderful, and I'm very happy because I have some contact with some of them with Messenger, and I'm all the time very happy. And I received, yeah, Anaïs, I'm very sorry. I spoke about that 2 days ago. I did not respond. Doyard-Mahé, my name is Mahé because she's coming from my mother, and Mahé is coming from La Bretagne. In France, it's coming from La Bretagne. There is a lot of Mahé in Bretagne, so she returned in Bretagne.
And I absolutely love all things French. So as soon as I'm in France again, I will look you up as well. So
Great.
Yeah, I just
Thank
might
you.
pop into the vineyard. I happen to really enjoy visits to vineyards. So that's.
I will show you. I will show you, and I will give you a sécateur to help me for the pruning.
Yes, I will work for my supper. Absolutely. So it's a real pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, thank you, Anaïs, for running the board and for translating for us when we needed you. That's very, very kind. It's always good to have. And Carole, we won't leave it this long before you and I chat again, and we'll get together. Thanks again. Good afternoon, everybody.
Just to share this great moment. Thank you very much. Wow, it was wonderful. Thank you.
See you soon. Good afternoon, everybody.